we're live.
We
Haven't
are.
done this in a while.
It has been a very long time.
The last time, I spilled all my water all over myself.
Oh, gee.
I'm dripping.
Oh, gee, Willikers.
The last...
What do you want a towel?
Okay. What a way to begin. I spilled all my water on myself.
Incredible.
The last time we were live together, both of us, it was for the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Summer.
No, it was before I left for LA, so that was in January.
January, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was the last time, and we were learning the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang dance.
Yes, that is true.
That is true. That is what we were doing. And now we're just kind of hanging out, talking about stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really have... I already spilled water all over myself. This is an adventure.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah. So, we already got 8 people here. That's wonderful.
Exciting.
Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks
Hi,
for seeing
besties.
us. You know, I was inspired. Sometimes I get, like, messages from people saying, like, I just feel so happy when you upload. And I'm like, oh, you know, I love that. You know, any sort of content. I think a lot of people... They just like our banter. They like what we do, what we make, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
hello.
friends.
Hello in the live chat.
It's been a second.
So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. My semester just got started, so I'm already regretting. Oh my god, if there's any long-time viewers, I'm in graduate school now, by the way. I have a whole bachelor's of the arts, and I'm going to have a master's of the arts by next year. So, for all y'all, it's been a long time coming since y'all started watching me at, like, what, 15? I was 15?
I was 15, you were 15, yeah.
So I turned 16 in December.
Yeah, we started this, we were both 15. And now we're both 22.
We just had our channelversary.
We did have our channelversary.
2 weeks, last week?
Yeah.
Last week?
Yeah, it's funny because our channelversary is actually August 18th, Percy Jackson's birthday, because that's when I filmed the first video on this channel. It's all very cringy. Don't go back and watch them.
Save yourself, though.
Yeah,
just watch our reactions to it, and then, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Honestly, I keep a lot of, like, YouTubers, like, not to say that I'm a YouTuber, this is just kind of like a hobby, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like a YouTuber is somebody who does it consistently, and that's, like, their job. That's their
We were YouTubers at one point.
At one point. There was a time. There was a time. But,
back when I was in high school.
When I was in high school. But, yeah, so...
That was a day well spent, Nerd Director.
Exactly, yeah. But, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of, like, YouTubers, like, delete their old videos because they don't want to, like, let people to see that cringe. But I'm like, honestly, I'm proud of how far we've come.
Yeah, I mean, if you go from that to some of the stuff we've made recently.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a striking difference.
Striking difference. And that's just, like, stuff that I do on this channel, you know? Like, that doesn't really include, like, the sort of, like, production-y stuff I do outside of YouTube. Because it's, like, I kind of keep, like, a separation of church and state, you know? Where it's, like, you know, it's, like, you don't poop where you eat, you know? Like, it's one of those things where, if I want to be able to refer people back to my work, I don't want them looking through some of the stuff. And they're like, what is this children's nonsense? Not that it is nonsense, but to some people it would come across as that, you know? It's meaningful to me. And to all of you guys, I'm so glad to have you guys here. So nice. You know, it's funny, like, a lot of people talk about, like, with live streams, they're like, people are like, they start off and they only have one person. It takes, like, months before they get to, like, 5 people in a chat, you know? But, like, we just have such a dedicated group of people, and I love that, you know?
So cute.
It's so nice.
So fun.
I love you guys so much, and whenever you guys, like, DM me, like, I am guaranteed to respond. Guaranteed. It's not like I'm somebody like PewDiePie who gets, like, 5 million per day, you know? I'm not like Magnus Bane getting, like, shadow hunters saying, like, I need your help every, like, 24 hours.
Yes, that is accurate. He's constantly on call.
Have you been keeping up with Secrets of Blackthorn Hall?
I've been meaning to, but I haven't.
I saw this meme about it where, like, there's, like, one part where, like, they keep, like, Magnus is on vacation and, like, they're like, we need your help. And I saw this meme, they're like, it wasn't really a meme, it was like a Tumblr post. Someone's like, you really think he's going to answer? He probably gets 7,000 letters in 1 hour from Shadowhunters asking for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Accurate.
Accurate. I have a whole, like, section on, like, my Tumblr, like, board for that, like, dedicated to, like, all roads lead to Magnus Bane.
They really do.
They really
all
do.
Of them.
Yeah.
But.
I've been, in case you can't notice, I've been, like, rereading and catching up on those books, so I'm in a mood. I'm in quite a mood.
So, speaking of our channelversary, I don't know if any of y'all, I know you're not on TikTok as much, but I don't know if any of y'all TikToking children out there, the Empire State Buildings, I think I sent it to you. For Percy's birthday, they went blue. They put like the blue lights on for Percy's birthday, and the Empire State Buildings TikTok was like happy birthday Percy and everything like that. So I was like, wow. Yeah, it was so cool. It was awesome. I was just scrolling on because I was like, this is the best day of my life. Yeah. And I think I saw that video, and that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go wish Allison a happy channelversary.
Yeah.
And wish her.
Yeah, it's funny because like when the casting news came out, everyone was like making those memes about like, you know how like Walker Scobell played like a young Ryan Reynolds in that one movie. What movie was that?
Oh, Free Guy.
Yeah.
I think.
No, I don't think it was Free Guy. It was something else, I think.
I don't know then. I don't know any Ryan Reynolds movies.
Other than Deadpool. We saw Deadpool together when we were 16.
Oh my god.
We were smuggled in by a friend.
Shh, that's a crime.
Admitting to crimes right here on YouTube.
Adam Project. Thank you, Julian.
Yeah. So, yeah, people are like making all these memes about like, oh my god, I can't believe Ryan Reynolds is playing Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
And if you recall, in like our dream cast, but like for me it was a meme cast, like I was like making up, like I was just saying the dumbest possible things I could, you know, for like Nika D'Angelo played by Christopher Walken, you know, like Hades played by Will Ferrell. I was just making up dumb crap, and I said Percy Jackson played by Ryan Reynolds.
You did say that.
And now that everyone's been making memes about, I can't believe Percy Jackson is being played by Ryan Reynolds, and I'm like, even Ryan Reynolds was tweeting out that he's like, I can't believe I have the honor of playing Percy Jackson. I'm just like, I have the approximate knowledge of many things.
I'm very knowledgeable about many things.
I don't know if you guys ever saw that episode of Adventure Time, but there's this episode where this is like this cat monster that's like, he knows everything almost. He's like, he has approximate knowledge of many. It's a meme. I have approximate knowledge of many things. Like, he's like, oh, I know you, Frank the Human. It's just like almost, you know, he knows everything almost. But like, yeah. That's what I felt like in that moment.
Yeah.
So,
incredibly.
What do you think about, okay, here's something that you guys would have a vested interest in hearing us talk about. I have thoughts on, so people have been asking Rick, they're like, okay, is Walker going to dye his hair, you know, like black? And he said, no, there's been no discussion of anything like that. He's like, I cast them not based on looks whatsoever. He has no interest in making them look like the characters in the book or how they're described. He just was going purely off of performance, right? I have thoughts on that. What are yours?
I haven't put much. I didn't actually know that. I don't have too many qualms about it, given what we got last time. So I'm kind of just grateful for something of quality. I don't. Thing is, I've always seen him more like on like the browner side of like brown blonde. So like I was like, oh yeah, like obviously it's like lighter color hair. Like it's not mine, or it's like more like yours. Or it's not like dark, but like, so like honestly, I don't think I'm going to notice it as much. I think I'm just going to be focused on, you know, the amount of performance that he's giving and like the way he's going to fucking body this character like I've never seen before, and I'm so excited for it.
Yeah.
Because if you've watched like interviews of that man with Ryan Reynolds, that is his. I'm like, that's literally Percy in a human body, like in a little person's body, and so
his comments on TikTok.
Yeah. I honestly think I'm just going to be so, like, enthralled with what he's doing and, like, proud of this thing that I'm not even going to give a shit about the hair color.
So, for me, I'm thinking more about, like, the general philosophy of, like, I'm like, are we going to have, like, a blonde Nika D'Angelo, you know? Like, something that...
I see.
Like, the general philosophy of, like, not casting based off of looks at all. And on one hand, I'm like, yeah, the performance, like, outweighs everything, but I do think that there is a sense of value that comes from seeing what's been in your head brought to life, you know? It doesn't always have to be perfect, you know? Like, don't quote me as being like one of those people that it can never be different, you know? Like, for instance, like, I think, like, those earlier books lacked diversity, you know? Making a black Annabeth, yeah, I'm cool with that. If she does the great job with the character, I'm, like, awesome. I just think, like, you know, like, imagine Leo Valdez as, like, anything other than, like, Latino, you know? Like, it's different, you know? Or, like, Jason Grace with, like, black hair, you know? It's, like, different. Or, like, if everybody looks different from, like, how we envisioned them, you know? Then it's just, like, even if they, like, embody the personality, I'm, like, I do think there's a sense of value that comes from, like, seeing what you've imagined in your head brought to life, you know? But I don't think it should be like that with everything. I'm fine with changes, you know? But like in general, you know, him being like, we're not gonna make any attempt at all, you know, to like do that, you know? I'm like, you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
I could see what you're saying. Has he been quoted saying we're not gonna make any effort at all whatsoever?
Yeah.
Like
he,
in
like,
any
like,
way,
like
shape,
he
or
like
form?
posted on like a newsletter thing saying that like all the casting is based 100% off of performance and no thought of like looks. Like there's been no conversations with Walker about dyeing his hair or like anything about that. You know, it's just nothing based off of appearance. You know, which I'm just like, yeah, you see what I mean?
Yes, to an extent, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain things that like they're not going to be able to change just because those are core things.
Parts. Yeah.
And those are the kind of things that I think he's like, yeah, we'll have to, you know, cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah. Like we're not gonna have like white Hazel, you know?
Yeah,
that's
not gonna happen. It's too ingrained in her character to be a POC. So,
but with like Percy, it'd be so easy to put a wig on him or like dye his hair, you know. But like the you know, we're not gonna try, you know, to like do that. I'm like, I do think that there's some value in seeing like how things are described brought to life, you know.
I mean, would they dye Annabeth's hair blonde?
Yeah, but there's a difference with that because like with like white people, there's already so many like white people, you know. It's like it's different, you know, like to like insert like force like white standards onto like somebody who isn't white.
Yeah, of course.
It's different from like if I like let's say if I wore like a dark-haired wig, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's something different there, you know? I'm not trying to get canceled. All I'm saying is that I do think like I do like seeing like a story where like you envision characters one way and then like you get to see them brought to life and then like there may be a couple characters that look a little different, you know? Whatever, you know? Like I'm fine with that, you know, but like let's say you see what I'm saying? I do think like in general trying to keep to that is good, you know? Yeah. I just feel conflicted with that, you know? Because I really don't want y'all to misconstrue me as being like, nothing can change at all. I'm not that sort of person, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I mean, like, to be like, appearance isn't gonna, like, play any role in it, you know? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm impartial.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything yet, so I don't know. But...
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I feel conflicted. And I'm glad we haven't lost that many viewers over this, over these hot, spicy takes. Yeah. But I'm excited, though, because, like, he has, like, full creative control. That's good. I hate a lot of changes to the character, TBH. Yeah, it's like, as long as it's not the personality, I'm fine with it, you know?
Yeah, as long as we don't lose, like, you know, the core of what makes these series the series. Like, Percy's hair being black does not make Percy Jackson.
No, it doesn't.
So as long as that is, like, as pure as it can possibly be, that is all I care about. Is that this, like, the joy I felt reading, I want to experience IRL.
Yeah. I think I found the words for it. I think the reason it kind of, like, concerned me was because it's, like, it's kind of indicative of a certain approach to the aesthetic, you know? Where it's like the aesthetic is not important, you know? Where I'm like, I do think it is, you know? Like, I don't think we have to 100% commit to it at all, you know? Like, feel free to play around with it, but in general, you know, kind of trying to keep to that. I think that's what it is to me. Like, I'm like, okay, if that's how Rick feels about characters, then how does he feel about other things, you know?
Yeah.
And that, like, kind of makes me go, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, makes me a little nervous. But, yeah. It's... I hope he does well. I'm nervous, though, because on one hand, like, I can't help but think, like, with J.K. Rowling giving, like, full creative control, things went kind of off the rails, you know? Not very good. But then again, Rick does not have the same ego that she does.
That is true. He does not.
He does not have the same ego, and he actually seems to listen to people a lot. Like, he's really good at taking criticism. I mean, like, you just look at his books. I feel like oftentimes his books are responses to criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, people say you need more diversity, you know, racially, and then he adds that you need more diversity of sexual orientations, doing that sort of thing. People asking for more mature stories, doing that. Less mature stories, that, you know, it's interesting, you know?
Yeah, he's really good at, like, you know, hearing what his fans need and being that response and being able to be that outlet for what, because as a teacher himself, he sees every single like student like that, like can walk through his door and sit in front of his like his desk and learn. So being able to be receptive to those kids and like give them something that is a good outlet and good influence, whatever you want to call it. I think he's always been very, very good at that, and I feel like, I hope it translates. I have a good feeling that it will. I'm just, honestly, what makes me the most nervous is the fact that it's in Disney's hands. This is not Disney slander, as I am a mild Disney adult. This is not Disney slander, but Disney has been known to, the Disney version of Yasify, different characters and stories and stuff, and kind of be like, oh no, like, Disney, what did you do? Like, so, I mean, there's a bunch of discourse around, like, a lot of the recent Marvel movies that ever since coming under Disney's wing,
Mm-hmm.
So, stuff like that, I'm like, I hope those same kind of criticisms don't get applied to this show, and it be because, it's because it's Studio Disney.
Well, I think something that gives me hope in that regard is the fact that during the whole negotiation process, a big part of that was he was like, I will not give you the rights unless I have full control. And because of his experience with the movies, he's very, very weary of that. I feel like if he gets one sniff of like too much studio interference, he's gonna pull out.
Yeah.
Like I that's what I'm definitely getting the vibe of. He's been very, very firm about wanting to have creative freedom over this. So, and honestly, that's kind of what scares me the most, is that if it goes bad, we'll have no one to blame but him,
Yeah.
Which will hurt my feelings, like if, let's say, the show is trash, then I can be like, gosh darn, Disney, at it again. But if it's trash in this case, then I'm gonna be like, Rick,
where did we go wrong?
Where did we go wrong? So that's kind of what scares me. But and the thing is, it's like writing for books is very different from writing for television.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very different. And I think you can kind of see that in J.K. Rowling's work with her films, because the thing about a book is that there's much less structure to it, because it can be however long you want. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's because it can be however long you want, and as a result, not every scene has to move things forward, You can just have, like, a scene that's just there for lore,
Mm-hmm.
But in a movie, like, you have to keep things moving,
Yeah.
And so as a result, and also there's a much stronger sense of structure because all movies are around the same length,
Mm-hmm.
They're, like, approximately the same amount of time, a little over, like, 90 minutes, around the same time. So as a result, there's a greater sense of, at this point, we should be at here. At this point, we should be at here. And when the audience senses that we're not at the place it's supposed to be at, then the audience is like, what is happening?
Disconnect.
Yeah. It kind of gets lulled into, like, a sort of, what is happening, And so you look at something like Crimes of Grindelwald, that's just kind of rambly, where...
I didn't see it. I cannot confirm nor deny.
Yeah, it's just kind of rambly. It doesn't really have a cohesive structure, scenes that don't really go anywhere, and it doesn't work. But with, like, a show, you kind of... And TV is even more, like, structured,
Mm-hmm.
because it's shorter.
It's episodic, yeah.
The shorter it is, the more need there needs to be some sort of structure to stuff. Otherwise, it gets wonky. It definitely gets wonky. Yeah. Like, imagine... Let me give you an example. Let's say I had a TV show, Getting Awkward with Allison, on NBC, right? Imagine this is like a 20-minute show, with ads in between, right? And I spent the first 20 minutes looking into the camera and just drinking water. And then, like, the last, like... I spent the first 15 minutes doing that, and then the last 5 minutes doing something,
Yeah.
It's gonna be weird,
Mm-hmm.
Or, and the shorter it is, the more obvious it becomes if the pacing is off,
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, let's say I have a segment at the beginning that's 5 minutes, and then I have a segment that is like way longer or way shorter. Another like let's say I have a 10-minute segment and then I have a 5-minute segment and then I have like a 30-second segment. Like it feels weird. The shorter it is, the more obvious it is. I'm kind of rambling. What do you think?
I lost you about 20 seconds ago, so I'm playing catch up in my brain at the moment.
My point is that like writing for books is different from writing for television, and given that he has full creative control, even if he means well, it could go poorly, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, he has full creative control, hooray! On the other hand, he has full creative control, he doesn't have much experience in this industry. I'm scared. And also, if it goes wrong, we'll have one person to blame, really, you know?
Which would suck.
Which would suck.
I don't want to put it on him.
No, I like...
But I mean... Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go.
We're back. We're back. Ah! Okay. Got scared there for a second. I don't think we said hey, howdy, hey, y'all. I need to say this.
Okay, go for it.
Hey, howdy, hey, y'all. Allison here.
And I, Peyton, am also here.
Back to the discussion.
We are within 20 minutes of this live stream.
I forgot to say it.
It's okay. We're back in the chat,
mm-hmm.
So it's fine.
Yeah. We're down to 2. It's okay. Come back. We're back, friends. We're back, friends. We're here. We're here.
If they're not here, they're not gonna hear you say it.
If I yell loud enough, it's like if all the Who's down in Whoville shouted at the top of their lungs, "We're back, friends. Hello."
They're talking about other shows in the comments.
Yeah, talking about Owl House. I haven't seen Owl House. I think, if I remember correctly, there was some discussion about, like, LGBT representation, if I recall correctly. That's good. It is good. But it makes me wonder. You know, it makes me wonder if they're gonna reveal Nico's sexuality earlier in the show. You know? Because in our books, it's not revealed until book 9, you know?
Yeah.
House of Hades. So, like, are they going to reveal it sooner? Because, I mean, first off, it's such an iconic part of his character, and who knows if they'll even get to House of Hades.
Yeah.
And also, like, I mean, like, he's such an LGBT icon. If, like, the show went its full course without ever bringing that up, it would be weird.
Yeah.
And also, like, fans of, like, the show who never read the books are gonna, like, go online and see all this, like, this gay fan fiction and fan art and, like, memes and discussions. And they're gonna be like, oh, so, like, why is he gay in the books but not in the show? It's gonna be a spoiler, you know? Like, there's no way of getting around it. You know, I jumped into this fandom. When I jumped into this fandom, it was before House of Hades came out, you know? But if I would have jumped into this fandom post House of Hades, like, I mean, the moment you search Nico D'Angelo, everything is about, like, we love our gay icon.
Yeah, truly.
You know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I feel like they're gonna introduce that sooner.
I have a hunch they will, too. I feel like it's gonna come up, if they get to Last Olympian. I feel like it's gonna come up in Last Olympian.
Yeah. Maybe Battle of the Labyrinth.
Maybe, but, like, I feel like it's, like, the whole tension with Hades is gonna, like, and I feel like they're gonna, like, formulate it, like, there's, like, that was in Last Olympian, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. I haven't read these books in a minute. Like, you know, it's like gonna be like an altercation that happens like either during or after, and like it's just gonna be like emotions getting higher, and then it's gonna come out, and then and Nico will come out as well,
and she will come out as well.
Because I feel like they need to draw it out in some way, shape, or form to like give that like the same feeling of suspense that we felt going into it, but not wait until the Cupid scene to reveal it. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Give the same Cupid energy, but put it in Last Olympian.
Yeah, and also I have the question of, will they introduce him sooner? Because he's just so iconic, and also I know Rick, and he can't help himself.
That's true.
Like, I mean, like, theoretically he could, you know, but would he, you know? I don't know.
I did see something that I think I know. It just flew by, so I wasn't sure. But I think Julian said, like, do it in a sort of that we find out the audience, but the characters don't find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a good idea, I think, is another good way of doing it. That, like, at least he's out to audience, and we can be, like, waiting with him, like, you know, like, until he gets brave enough to come out.
I'm just, like, picturing in my mind. Oh, because in my mind, I was like, how do you reveal that to the audience without the characters? Because that's such an intimate, personal, internal thing. So I'm just, like, imagining, like, this is what's going through my head, okay? Hire me to direct. So Percy and Annabeth are walking out on the green together, holding hands and laughing in the sunshine before they're even together. I wonder if they're... No, he's going to do the long burn. He's going to do a slow burn.
You know he's going to do a good slow burn.
A good slow burn.
He's going to treat us to a slow burn.
Okay, so I'm picturing they're at the campfire. They're laughing, talking together like good friends in quotation marks. And then we cut to, like, you see, like, Nico, like, you see, like, look up in the window and he's looking down at them. And then, like, we cut to, like, over his shoulder. He's just, like, puts a hand on the window pane and he's, like, looking down sad. And then we go back over to him and, like, single tear goes down and he goes... And then fade to black. End of episode. Directed by Alison Kloss. And that's how that's the first hint. That's the first hint. And they're like, and the audience is like, ooh, is he into Percy or Annabeth? You know? And then in the next episode, he's like, I like you, Percy.
That can't just come out of left field, Bessie. I hate to break it to you.
No, he doesn't say I love you. He's just like, I like you as a friend.
That's the worst kind of queer baiting.
I like you. Percy's like, I like you too as a friend. And Nico's like,
ooh.
And Nico just goes, haha.
Yep.
And then, like, looks away like that. And then that's the further hint. And then in the episode after that, Cupid shows up. And Jason Grace arrives.
Oh, shit.
We're all here.
The gang's all here.
The gang's all together. And then...
all the toxic gang is here.
The toxic gang.
Cupid is so toxic, don't even.
Yeah, it's funny. Okay, this is kind of off topic, but it kind of relates. Okay, so Peyton, have you heard about, like, like I said before, I've been, like, rereading the Shadowhunter books and, like, catching up. I haven't read any since, like, 2017, so, like, I've been catching up and rereading. Well, have you seen, like, the recent discourse of there are these special editions put out by LitJoy that have, like, Cassandra Clare's annotations in them?
Mm-mm.
Like, people have been posting, like, pictures of, like, her, like, all throughout the book, like, her own annotations.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And in one of them, like, it's funny because it was, like, Camille being toxic, and she just writes, Camille's thoughts on love are just so toxic. And I thought it was so funny because it's, like, yeah, I noticed. It's, like, her being a manipulative and abusive ex, and Cassandra Clare just writes, like, something about, like, the way she views love is so toxic. And I'm like...
Good.
The rest of them are great, you know? Like, every now and then I just have moments where I'm just like, oh, she probably had, like, a quota of, like, this many annotations every page, you know? Like, every 20 pages you need, like, 5 annotations, let's say, you know? Yeah. I don't own any copies. I've just seen pictures posted by people online, and everyone's been like, oh, yeah, they're all throughout the book, and I'm like, I want it. Want. Control want. But, yeah, it's like... Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. You're, like, toxic. I'm like, it's so toxic.
It is toxic.
Yeah.
Jason Grace is toxic, too.
Ooh, that's a hot take. You care to elaborate on that take?
No. He's toxic.
No. Piper's toxic. It's like...
that whole couple is toxic.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, kind of toxic. Yeah. It's like... one thing, here's the thing. I think they could have been a lot better if they would have grown, you know? Like, having those sorts of flaws is fine with me. Let's look at Leo for a second. I love my boy Leo Valdez, but he clearly has some flaws, you know? And, like, I mean, like, he's like in the first book, he's like a womanizer, and he clearly uses jokes to deflect from his own feelings and all that sort of stuff. And, like, it's acknowledged, but, like... I mean, like, it's not like he's put into situations that challenge that. I mean, he definitely becomes less of a womanizer as the books go on, but it's not like he's, like, we actually get that satisfaction of, like, growth. Like, let's say there's, like, a scene where he, like, I don't know, something to challenge him like that, to inspire change rather than it just kind of happening.
If you hear noise in the background, it's my cat in the litter box. Please ignore. She goes crazy in there. Anyway, proceed.
Yeah. It's just like, it's fine for characters with flaws. I just feel like a lot of their flaws are never like addressed or changed, you know? Because like, one of the great things about like someone like Nico D'Angelo is that he's always changing, but that doesn't mean we run out of stuff to do with him.
Yeah.
I feel like authors enter this state of fear sometimes where they're like, if my characters change, then I won't have anything to do with them. Which is why oftentimes, like, I get frustrated when we have really, really, really slow burn stuff and we never get to actually see them be a couple, you know? Where I'm like, it's like the author doesn't know what to do once they become a couple. Or once they become a couple, they drop off the grid, you know? Because they don't know what to do with them after that. And I'm like, you can do stuff with them. There are still things that can happen, conflicts that can be had, and experiences that can be shared. And they're like, oh, if they're together, the only other conflict that can happen is they break up for briefly, and then they have to get back together. You know?
She's involved now.
This is Peyton's cat.
This is my cat Piper. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
I'm glad you like me, Pops.
She's a talker.
She really do be. Can I help you, ma'am?
Nope, she's gonna walk around and be annoying.
Aw, she's not annoying. She's very pleasant. She's gonna stare.
Angel fits.
So cute. Yeah. It's like, what do you think?
I mean, Piper.
Her stomach
Her
growled.
made a very loud noise.
She hungry.
She just literally just ate.
She just
not even like 9 minutes ago. Her food feeder goes off at 5:30. But I mean, we've talked about this stuff in like the hot takes video before, and like and in I think a different live stream we talked about something else that was related to this.
Yeah.
So I mean, I liked Jason and Piper in theory. I didn't. The way I wish we would have had like another book to like explore, or I wish it would have been rewritten in the plot. Or like
I think they could have Piper. Okay, so I've actually calculated who has the most point of view sections. Like I counted how many pages each point of view section is, and Leo has the most like point of view, like not number of sections. Like I count how many pages each one is, like total. You know, Leo has number 1, and Piper is followed close behind in number 2. So I refuse to believe that he couldn't squeeze in an actual character arc.
Well, yeah, and not
or like he did have one, but it was like weak.
Not even that, but like I wish it would have been implemented into the plot somewhere along the line that like I mean Hera, it's kind of like unclear whether or not, at least in my opinion it was unclear, whether or not like they were just like there was something that existed between those two previous to Hera, and then like Jason just got dropped into it and like everyone's memories got fabricated, which I think is what it was kind of going off of.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But I really wish there would have been some kind of like, for my D&D folks, like some kind of greater restoration where like it like they could actually like experience feelings like and like know what like establish memories and feelings and like know whether or not it was real and then explore that deeper. I really wish that was something they would have done, because I feel like it could have been interesting to watch them re-fall in love. Yeah. If it was meant to be. For me, which clearly Piper is of the bi variety. So which is incredible. Which is great, yeah, of course, that she like, you know, has a girly that she loves.
And she has that realization off screen.
Yeah, a girly swirly that she loves very much. But I really wish there would have been some kind of arc where either they fell out of love in front of us or fell back in love but then realized it wasn't, you know, good later on, so that, you know.
All the biggest changes happen off screen. Yeah. You know?
I just wish that would have been implemented more, because then I feel like I would have been able to sympathize and really, like, get involved with and, like, you know, come to terms and, like, really like Piper and Jason. But, like, I just feel like there wasn't anything tangible there to like latch onto.
I'm gonna do my Piper rant. Are you ready?
I feel like I've heard it before, but
you have. It's like my beef with Piper is that so her point of view sections are often very repetitive. Yes. It's like it starts off where she's like, everyone's so cool and I'm so lame. I wish I was as cool as they were and could be more helpful. I just feel like I'm just really not pulling my weight. But I'm like, Piper, you can mind control people. Like, you have a dagger that you can use to see the future, like past, present, and future. But she's like, I don't like looking into it because sometimes it shows me scary things, you know. And we actually do see that she can control what she sees when she like really focuses. But does she try work on that? No, you know. Like, does she practice her charm speak? Not really until like much later, you know. She only really practices during battles, and I'm like, is now the time, darling? Is now the time? But it's like, so begins with her complaining about like, oh yeah, so sad. I wish I could be more helpful. And then she's put in a situation where like all of the other characters can't help, like. You know, like let's say like Keone's situation, they're all frozen, you know, they're all popsicles, you know. So she only rises to the occasion when nobody else can. That's another thing that annoys me. And so she's forced to rise to the occasion and save the day. And then Jason's like, "Oh my God, you saved me! What a crazy role reversal!" And then she's like, "Wow, maybe I do have it in me." And then we jump to somebody else's point of view for a little while, and then we jump back to Piper, and she's like, "Wow. I just feel so useless around here."
Square one.
We're back to square one. She's like,
one.
I just feel like I'm really not pulling my weight. And then something happens. And then she rises to the occasion. And then she's like, maybe I do have it in me after all. And then the next one, she's like, it's the same thing over and over again. And Frank kind of does the same thing to a lesser extent. It's a little more gradual with him. He does gain a little more confidence, but like, often that is the same thing, you know? I'm just like, okay, how about she has this realization, where do we go from here, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, she realizes that she does have it in her. Maybe in the next one, she tries to jump in, but, like, she doesn't. It sounds like Piper was very poor self-esteem with non-supportive boyfriend. I'm not gonna
said it, I didn't, Bestie.
I won't say you're wrong there.
You said it, I did not.
Mm-hmm. But it's like...
This is Jason Gray slander.
Jason Gray slander.
This is a Jason Gray slander account.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if y'all follow me on TikTok, but earlier this summer I read Pride and Prejudice for the first time, and my TikTok, I did like a little like mini like reading vlog thing, and because I'd never seen the 2005, I know I saw it now with the hand flex, but so I did read it, and my account for like a good week was a Mr. Collins hate account, and if there was another PJO book to read in some way, shape, or form, it would be a Jason Grace hate account. This is not a Jason Grace stan account. But
It's like, yeah,
he has his moments, but
he does.
There's other better characters that I could get invested in. So.
Yeah.
I had to choose.
I'm like I just feel frustrated because there's so much potential.
So much. Untapped.
So much.
Untapped. And honestly, I kind of blame Rick.
Yeah. Because, like...
I know we were talking about, like, we don't want to blame him, but, like, for this, I fully blame him. Because Piper's a really cool character that he did jack shit with.
And she has so many POV sections. Yeah. You know?
So he had the opportunity. He just fucking flopped.
And you know what the funny thing about the POV sections is that each one of them, the character, like, learns a lesson. Most of the time. You know, there's some where it's just purely for the plot, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it happens, especially during, like, the climaxes, you know? They do definitely learn things during, like, the climaxes sometimes, you know, like Hazel, like, learning to do stuff in House of Hades. It's like, that does happen. Frank stepping up as the leader in House of Hades. But, like, oftentimes there are some that are just for the plot. But most of the time there is, like, a lesson that they learn. And I'm like, why can't they learn a different lesson, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of the same characters learning the same ones over and over again. And, I mean, like, I understand that, like, some people, like, not some people, a lot of people, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen you're not going to become, I'm confident now, I'm going to be a superhero now after one experience. It takes, but just because of that doesn't mean it has to be the same. Like, let's say Piper has that formula I laid out, you know? I can't do anything, I'm useless, does something, whatever. And then the next Piper POV section, instead of doing the same thing that we just did, instead it's like, okay, we show a point of view section where, like, she's practicing her charm speak with Hazel, you know? Where, like, Hazel's like, I give you permission to, like, make me do shit, you know? And they do that a bunch, you know? And then, and then like a battle happens, something happens, and she accidentally mind controls someone else. She's like, she says to do something, and then she accidentally like actually makes them to literally do it.
Yeah.
Like hit the deck, and then somebody just like jumps too hard and gets hurt. I don't know, something stupid. I don't know. That's just the dumbest thing that I could think of. But something happens where like she doesn't use it well, you know. And she's like, maybe I'm not cut out for it after all, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I tried and I didn't do well. Or maybe, like, they're having an argument, like, the whole group, and she says, like, she's like, shut up, and then, like, everyone shuts up, and she's like, I didn't, like, and they're like, are you mind controlling us all the time? You know, like, something like that. Something to cause conflict, you know? Some escalation of that. And that could be one POV section, you know? And the next one, she's kind of dealing with the repercussions of that, you know? Of, like, how am I going to work around this, you know? And then at some point she can figure that out, you know? Then we can have another POV section where she's like, okay, I think I got this down, you know? I'm going to implement it in a battle, but like, let's say, it goes wrong. I don't know. You can do stuff. You can
play with it. You can play with the arc.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be
mm-hmm.
an arc.
It needs to be an arc. The same things repeating. It's not even like this. It's just like, you know, just like jumping back to square one and repeating. And Jason, like, oh boy, where, you know, where? It's like not until Blood of Olympus that like I feel like Rick couldn't decide what he wants to do with Jason, you know, like what is his storyline about? Like in House of Hades, it seems like it's about like, oh yeah, he needs to figure out am I Greek or am I Roman, but that's not a particularly compelling sort of like thing, you know. It's like, well, I think it's largely because we know that they're gonna get big friends in the end. Like the Greeks and the Romans, they're not gonna kill each other in the end, you know? We know how it's going to end. And so it's like, we know it's just gonna be like, oh yeah, he can be both. He can be both. You know, he can go back and forth. You don't have to choose. We know how it ends, you know? And we're just like, you know? You can do other ththings with him. So many other things.
Before you just... Spoilers. Him.
Yeah. Like...
Because I finally started liking him. And then...
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it!
Yeah.
So close.
And, like, the Leo Valdez storyline is so disappointing me, too. Because I'm like, he has so much growth, but, like, we never really see it happen. You know? Like...
Again, it's a bunch of off-camera stuff.
And some stuff that isn't even off camera, that just doesn't happen, period, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, at the beginning of the series, he does not confront his feelings, he does not talk about his feelings, you know? Only on very, very rare occasions, you know? He pushes it all down, he blames himself for everything, you know? And by the end, he still does that, you know?
Yeah.
He's still doing that. But, like, Rick, I think Rick worries that, like, if he is no longer that sort of person, he won't be the same person. But he can still be the same person. He can still be a jokey jokester, you know? But he could be one that better learns who can also learn how to have better coping skills, you know?
Yeah.
Who can, like, gradually learn, you know, and change, you know? And we don't really see that happen, you know? It's almost as if Rick is, like, saying that, like, that's just a quirk, you know? That's not, like, an actual personal flaw that somebody would need to work on, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that is a personal flaw, you know? That's not healthy, you know? Yeah. It's just, it's frustrating. And the whole, like, I'll always be the seventh wheel and the odd man out. Was that ever resolved, you know? By the end of Blood of Olympus, he still felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
He still felt that way. That's why he sacrificed himself, because he was like, nobody cares. Like, if this goes wrong, you know? He's like, theoretically, I survive and go save Calypso, but if I don't, I have the least, you know, riding on me, you know? And it's like, that sort of inferiority complex, you know? Does he ever work through that? No. Not really. No. Learning how to better communicate? No, not really. He's kind of...
why did Calypso and his relationship end?
Huh?
Why did him and Calypso go on a break? I mean...
Mm-hmm.
Communication. It is the ultimate evil that, like, kills so many, like, real and fictional relationships. It's just, there's so many plots that would just not happen if they just and communicated.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be like it. That'd be it. You'd be done. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I do think they communicate.
Resolved.
In that case, I do actually think they do communicate. You know, she says, "I'm angry because of this," and he's like, "Why? I don't understand." You know, like. Well, actually, he does understand.
Such a dumb boy.
He does understand. You know, he's just like, "What do you want me to do about it?" You know, like they definitely do communicate. She's very vocal about her frustrations, and he's like, "What do you want me to do about it? You know, send you back to the island?" Like, she's like, "Well." Like, he doesn't say that, but, like...
problem solving.
He doesn't say that, but, like, in the argument... There's, like, this one really good scene where, like, they're arguing, you know, she's... And, like, Leo's explained to Apollo, he's like, look, the reason she's upset is because she's, like... She feels like she's lost everything, you know? Like, she had her power, she had her home, and now all of that is gone, and now these past 6 months has been nothing but danger and adventure, you know? Very stressful, and she's been like, maybe I was better off on the island, you know? Like, she feels like I rescued her only to throw her into a far worse situation, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, what am I supposed to do about it, you know? What am I supposed to do about it? So it's like, they do communicate. I do think that they do. It's just that, like, they just have problems, you know, that they need to work through, you know?
Accurate.
And, like... It's interesting. But there definitely are some situations where, like, communication, where, you know?
Don't they?
Yeah, where. It's... And here's the thing. Rick always responds to those sorts of criticism by saying, well, Trials of Apollo is about Apollo, you know? I'm like, yeah, I get that. So why weren't these issues, like, resolved in Heroes of Olympus, you know? He's like, why did you wait to have their character arcs until, like, the last book, or...
To when they're a supporting character, not a main character.
Yeah. Either in Blood of Olympus or in Trials of Apollo. I'm like, why did you wait to actually give them that? Yeah. First, Percy should have known about Leo's suicide plan. The pair could talk about it, and keeping it a secret from the others would test Percy's fatal flaw too. See? Great drama, great ideas. They exist.
Good ideas had by the fan base. Incredible.
Yeah. It's just like, do stuff.
Different stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, hot takes. So how are you?
Oh, you know, to bring it back to the beginning of the live stream, I am in grad school for applied history, and I am going to be busy all the time, and I'm going to hate it, but also love it, but I want it to be over already, and it's only been week 1. So, that's where we're at.
That's a big part of adulting.
Oh, yeah, it's, I feel like I'm going to have, like, this summer I've gotten so much, like, reading for fun done, because I can't really read during the semester, because as much as I want to, and I have a TBR that sits and looks at me very accusingly, but, like, I mean, you know, I read nonfiction every single week, and I have hundreds and hundreds of, well, not hundreds and hundreds, just hundreds of pages of reading every night, practically, for every class, and so I can't in my mind be like, I'm going to stop reading what I have to read and read something that I want to read, knowing that will then fall to the wayside. Like, I can't make my brain stop reading to go read some more. And as much as I have been clearly, like, I'm, like, you know, an avid reader, still, to this day, it's just, everyone's brain gets a little tired of looking at words.
Yeah.
So, if I'm just doing nothing but reading historic documents, primary sources, you know, whatever, books, nonfiction books, I'm going to, it gets old. It gets old real quick, and I'm like, I want to read this fun book about witches, but I can't because I have other things I need to do, and I don't want to read anymore because I just get tired of it. So when I, like, am having a break or some kind of, like, where I don't need to, like, that's when I binge. Like, I binge books hard now because, like, that's the only time. If I want to read for fun at all during the year, that's when I have to do it.
Do you listen to audiobooks?
No, I can't.
Why?
I just can't. It's the same way, like, I can't, like, read, like, ebooks either. It doesn't process the same because my brain goes and starts thinking about other things, what I'm going to do for dinner, what I'm going to do this, what I'm going to do that, and then I've missed a minute of audio on accident, and but I can listen to podcasts. I can't listen to books, though.
Have you tried, like, listening to a book while, like, doing something with your hands?
Yes, I can't do it. Because I do it for, like, there's some books, like history books, the only way I could listen to audiobooks before in the past was when I was commuting to school, because that was the only sound happening in my car. So I would play the audiobook and then I'd be able to listen to it. But there was always textbooks, like, that I was reading, the reading that was due for that day on my way to class. Because I had a 30-minute drive to school. So I would try to, like, catch up and, like, do, like, the last, like, couple minutes of reading, like, on my way. And, like, that would be fine, but then, like, I'd, like, start thinking about something else. I'd be like, oh, shit, I fully just missed 2 minutes of audio. Oh, well, I'll figure it out in class. Like, so I've fully attempted at, like, driving, and then I've also done, like, sewing and listening to audiobooks, and crocheting, and then I get, like, counting, and then I miscount, or I do, like, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
So print books have always been, like, I can look at the words and I can process them as they're happening. Audio, I can't do for some reason.
With the audiobooks, I have to be doing something. Like, even if it's just playing a game on my phone, you know? Otherwise, I'm just, like, because I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands or my body. If I'm just listening, I'm just like, you know, I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? If I'm driving, great. If I'm, like, playing, like, a stupid, like, mindless game on my phone, great, you know? If I'm doing, like, you know, folding laundry, great. I have to be doing something. I have to be occupied with something.
That's what I have to do when I listen to podcasts, because then I get fidgety. But, for some reason, books, and I don't know if it's just because I've really only ever read nonfiction books on audiobook, because that's when I try to catch up.
That's probably it.
That could be what it is.
That's probably it,
but
I'm not gonna lie.
I fully miss, like, 2-3 minutes, or it gets to the point where I'm like, I don't know how long I was zoned for. Like, I don't think linearly. So, like,
yeah.
I'm like, I have literally zero concept of how much time has passed since the last time I was listening to this and the current time. The only way I can tell that it's different is that we're talking about something completely, like, we've moved. I'm like, oh shoot, I thought we were talking about oh god, I must have missed, and then I have no idea where to rewind it back to. No, because I have literally zero concept of the passage of time. It's so bad.
It also comes down to the narrator. If they are, if they have good, like, inflections and, like, phrasing. If they're, like, too monotone, then yeah, you're gonna zone out. But, like, if they like really, like, get engaged and, like, not only, like, during the action parts, you know, like, descriptions and whatnot, but also, like, doing different voices. You know, you don't have to do, like, a full-on different voice for every single character, you know? Like, you can just, like, a different vibe, you know? You're like, this character kind of talks like this, and this is how they talk, and this character's kind of like this, and this one's like, they sound like this, and this character's a little like this, you know, like I mean, you can have, like, subtle, that was a little exaggerated for the sake of showing difference, but, like, more subtle differences, you know, something to, like, you know, keep you engaged and, like,
well, see, honestly, and that's why, like, someone was like, I'm literally, like, listening to you guys and, like, playing a game on my phone at the same time right now. I can do that with, like, podcasts, and I especially can do it with Critical Role, because everyone is playing a different character. And Matt's doing a bunch of NPCs, and, you know, Laura is, depending on which campaign I'm watching, she's either Imogen or she's Vex, or, you know, so, like, and I have this, like, established that voice with that specific person, so I can totally follow like, what's happening in Critical Role while I'm doing homework, I'm playing a game on my phone, I'm doing something else. Like, I can totally follow it just because, like, I can, like, establish each. I'm like, okay, Travis is talking, but it's, you know, it's Grog. But, like, they're communicating in this way, and Matt's doing some NPC. I don't know which NPC, but he's doing an NPC. If I was totally tuned out. But I at least know generally who's talking when and what is going on based on who's talking. So, like, if I hear Liam go and I walk away, I'm like, oh, Vax just did something dramatic. I wasn't paying attention to what it was, but he totally did something dramatic, because that's his he does that. He's like, he says something super, like, and he goes, and I walk away. But, so, like, I'm like, oh, something must have happened there. So, like, I can pick up on their mannerisms now, like, just from, like, watching so many hours of content. But, for some reason, if it's just, like, one narrator, I'm done. Like, and I can't really even listen to, like, podcasts where it's just one person talking. Like, they have to have a guest on, or else I'm done. Like, I'm tapping.
Yeah. I mean, like, with live streams, if, like, they're, like, watching, reacting to stuff, commenting and stuff, like, cool, you know?
Yeah.
But if, like, how does that work, you know?
Yeah. I don't even...
I've tried to do stuff like that, where I just kind of ramble and chat with you guys, and I'm like, is this entertaining? You know? I think there are times, but sometimes not. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I tried them. I think that's because, like, I have, like, a strong stream of consciousness, you know?
Yeah.
I can just, like, I'm a wind-up toy, you know? I can just
true.
go, like, the Energizer Bunny.
That is very accurate.
Allison Saber.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Tell the people what you're up to.
I
was talking about grad school, talking about what you're up to.
So I have one more semester left at Emerson College, so I'm going back to Boston in a few days.
Back to the home of Rick Riordan.
To the home of the Ryer, you know?
Yes.
I think he's in Canada right now,
that makes
Vancouver,
sense.
to film. But
that makes sense.
He's not there, tragically.
Tragically.
Yeah.
You can just walk past his home longingly.
Mm-hmm. One of his sons went to Emerson.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so fun. Yeah, it's super cool. But I have one more semester left, so I graduate in December. And then I'm going to go back home for probably like a month just to see my family a month or two. I'm thinking, I think, yeah, because my mom, she is retiring in February and she wants to help me move. So, like, rather than taking off, like, time like that, it's going to be a lot easier if, like, she waits until after she, like, retires in February to help me move and settle and all that sort of stuff. So, I think I'll go back to LA in February and, like, settle there.
Have you found a new place in LA? Or are you staying at the same?
No, I'm not gonna. No.
That's fair.
No, but we'll get there when we get there. I mean,
that's reasonable.
That's in the far future.
That is where I'm at. I'm like, listen, I know this fall I am gonna have to start looking for big girl jobs. So that's gonna be on my radar. But everyone's like, oh, when you like, where are you thinking? Like, what area are you thinking you're gonna end up? And I'm like, I don't have an answer for you. But that's the question. They're like, oh, so like what area, like what, like where are you thinking? And I'm like, oh God, I need to start like considering long-term options. I'm like, uh-oh, I am only going to be 23 years old. I'm like, I can't be making those kinds of decisions. Yeah. But I'm like, yeah, that is a bridge that I'm gonna cross later. That is, as I like to say, that is future Peyton's problem. That is not current Peyton's problem.
Yeah.
I make life hell for future Peyton, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
She's never really too pleased with me.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, for me, I have like I'm very optimistic for my future. I've done very well at like.
I am as well.
Yeah, thank you. You've done so well.
Thanks.
She's done a lot of really, really cool stuff, like super cool stuff as a, conserving, protecting, guarding with swords and such, and sewing needles.
Swords that are needles.
All the textile conservation stuff. But with me and like film stuff, like for someone who's only 22 and hasn't even graduated college, I'm like I've been doing really well and establishing a lot of really good connections. People who are like, next time we have a gig, you are like our number one pick, you know, like, it's nice. And people often ask me, they're like, how do you plan on moving up the ladder? And I'm like, because here's the thing, a lot of people are like, I am ambitious, I want to direct, I want to be the Papa Bear, right? And a lot of people are like, they start off doing that, like the route that they take, and there's nothing wrong with this route, this is just not the route that I want to take. A lot of people start by like directing a bunch of short films, you know, and then just like slowly like getting bigger and bigger until they get hired for bigger and bigger stuff. That's not the route that I'm taking. Like, obviously I make content, obviously, but the route that I'm more focused on taking is I'm like, I already know how to make small little things like this, you know, but what I need more experience with is like working on big sets, you know. So, like, working as a PA, a production assistant. Work your way up to production coordinator, the one who wrangles all the PAs, you know? Work your way up to production manager, the one who's, like, giving orders to, you know, for the coordinators to execute, you know? And, like, spending more and more time on set, and then, like, eventually work my way up to, like, third assistant director, third AD, you know? Work up to second AD, you know what I mean? Slowly work my way up to those sorts of positions, because when you've worked on enough sets and you become familiar with the roles, then you can do that, you know? I wouldn't feel comfortable if, let's say, in let's say tomorrow somebody offered me, like, would you like to direct this big budgeted film? I'd say absolutely no, because I would do terrible at it, you know? But if I've, let's say, worked as an assistant director on a bunch of big things, you know, then I'd feel comfortable saying that, you know? I don't want to do that sort of thing until I have the
experience to back it up.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to create on my own. Obviously, I do. But my main focus right now is getting on sets and observing how they work. Because you'd think it's like, oh, you know, you just direct the thing, and I'm like, that's not really how it works, you know. Being able to be familiar with everything, I want to do that, you know. Like, if let's say there's a certain shot that we want, how are we going to make that shot happen, you know? What do we do? Now, a lot of people have told me that I would make a good producer because I have a good, like, instinct for story and drama. Drama in the sense of storytelling drama, and humor and all that sort of stuff. But I'm like, no, because I want to be where it happens, you know, in the room where it happens. I want to, like, actually make things. And I've also been told that, like, I'd be good with, like, reality TV as a producer and, like, documentary producer, because that's very spontaneous. You have to, like, come up with stuff in the moment. And they're like, you have a good, like, instinct for that. You should do that. I've had, like, professors tell me that. I've had, like, producers tell me that. I've had a lot of people tell me that. But I'm always like, no. And you want to know why? Have I ever told you why? Why I don't want to go into, like...
I don't remember.
The reason...
We have a lot of conversations.
We've had many conversations. I'm trying to find a good position where I'm not being striped, you know? Well, I feel so far away. Anyway, so the reason is because the best content is often the stuff that people don't want to share. You know? So, let's say... Sorry about that. Let's say you're filming some sort of reality thing, documentary thing. Something happens where somebody is upset, you know? That's going to be good drama, you know? But in you kind of are like, it's okay with, even if you say, is it okay to film? They're probably going, yeah, sure, because they feel like they can't say no, you know?
Yeah.
And then they're probably going to regret it later. I remember I was producing as like a documentary about the making of a student film, and we were interviewing the producers of said student film, and we were asking about, like, I'm not gonna say which organization, but the particular organization where they got funding from, for, like, student film, and they were like, there was definitely drama there. They definitely had thoughts about how things are run and managed with, like, dillying out money and stuff like that to student films. They definitely had thoughts on that, and it sounded juicy. It sounded like good stuff, and now I was in a position where I had two choices. I could either be like, well, they're saying, we don't want to talk about it. I could either say, that's fine, and leave it there, or I could push, you know? Be like, come on, it's for the documentary, come on, you know, like, it's too much, just do it, and, like, wear them down, and eventually they do, you know?
Yeah.
But I would feel so bad about myself, because the reason they don't want to say is because they don't want to burn bridges. Because people work at those sorts of organizations that they want to have good relationships with, you know? I could have, like, worn them down, but I would have felt so filthy afterwards. Like, that just feels wrong. Somebody's having, like, Dude, the best stuff in reality TV is stuff where somebody cries.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You know? If emotions are so high that somebody cries, that's what you want to get. That's the good stuff. But I doubt they're going to want to see that later. That sort of vulnerability, if they're at the point where they've broke down crying, they're not going to want that on TV, you know, and they're going to feel like they have to show it, you know. They're either going to say no or they're going to feel like they have to. And I would just feel so wrong, you know, because, yes, I do have an instinct for where we should go with the story and stuff like that, but I'm like, it often requires doing things that people don't want to do and sharing things that people don't want to share. And I'm like, if I want to tell a dramatic story about somebody struggling with loss or rejection, I can do that with a fictional story where nobody's getting hurt, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to do it with a real human being unless I have full-on consent. Now, if let's say it's a documentary about a person, and they're like, yeah, I want you to make this documentary about my life, I've had these crazy experiences, you know? That's one thing. But if, like, it's a reality thing, you know, an ongoing documentary, and where you're recording someone's life. That's another thing. So it's a bit of a spiel. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
Was that
sense.
rambly?
No.
Yeah. So that's why I don't really want to go into like producing stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I want to be the boss, but I also want to be on the ground with my hands working and touching everything, and I want to have my hands in every aspect of it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I also think that something that uniquely gives me a good advantage is that a lot of people in LA, it just splashed up my nose. Okay. A lot of people in LA who want to go into filmmaking and they're like, I want to be a director, are people who are like big egos and like they're control freaks, you know? And like it's all about them and their vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm somebody who's like, I'm like a nice leader. You know? Like when I'm working with a group, I'm like, I listen to other people. I want to be the leader, but I'm also like, I'm nice about it, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people get very focused on like themselves in it. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain how like a lot of people can get caught up in them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the end of the day, when it comes to making media, especially when, like, I'm not talking about this kind of media, I'm talking about like stuff where it's like 50 people in a crew, you know? 50, 100, 200, 1,000, you know? What it's all about is making the best product, you know? And sometimes that means you're not going to get the glory, and sometimes that means that you're going to have to throw yourself under the bus, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it takes a certain level of humility, and I think a lot of people in LA lack that. And it's definitely something, you know? It's definitely something. It's part of the reason why so many people get to director by being like, I'm going to direct all of my own things first, you know? They never at any point experienced being the role of a cameraman, you know, an AC, an AD, a PA. They never work any of those other positions because all they want is to be the boss, you know? They have these, and they think they're so much better than everyone else, you know? They're like, my visions are better than your visions, you know? I'm just such a visionary, you know? And I'm like, you know, it's frustrating, you know? And what ultimately those sorts of people end up doing is that the reason their stuff is good is because they hired good people, either through a good network or through they have money, you know? So as a result, their stuff is good because they hired good people. That's why, you know? But there are oftentimes people that have no experience with actually, like, doing things, like working on the ground. And then they're like, I'm a true visionary. And I don't want to be that kind of person. I don't want to be that kind of person. I want to be somebody who can, like, if I have a vision, I want to be able to communicate it by saying, like, this type of shot, this type of sound, this type of whatever, this type of prop, this type of production design, whatever, you name it. I want to be able to communicate that and actually be involved, you know? I don't want to be the kind of leader that leads only because that was the role I was given, but because I've earned it, you know?
Yeah.
That's the kind of person I want to be. So people oftentimes ask me, they're like, why don't you have more, like, professional short films made? And I'm like, because that's not where my focus is at right now. Right now my focus is at, like, working my way up and experiencing all those sorts of roles, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, right now, this coming semester, I'm taking a class on production design. I'm taking a class on computer animation, you know? Like, I've taken classes on all sorts of, like, wacky, weird, random stuff because I want to gain a broad knowledge and understanding of things, because I want to be a good sort of leader, you know? And so many people say they want to be a director, just people who are rich, spoiled children who think movies are cool, you know? And they don't really have, you know, an actual respect for it, you know? And I do. And that's the kind of person that I want to be. Because every day, that's what I do. I aspire to be, I think about the kind of person I want to be, and I try to be that person. And I think that's all we can really do. Yeah. That was a ramble.
Yes.
That was a straight up ramble. But did it make sense? Was it too rambly? It's okay if you said I zoned out for like half of it.
Not for half.
I try my best to be concise while still expressing what I'm trying to say adequately.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that involves repetition because sometimes people like choose to ignore certain parts, you know?
Yeah.
I definitely try. I try. An attempt was made. Yeah. And I do work in a kind of stream of consciousness.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I find my thoughts as I'm speaking them. Because I kind of think as I do. I was talking to my mom yesterday about, like, note-taking in school, stuff like that, because we were talking about, like, do I need notebooks for this coming semester, you know, stuff like that, and, like, school supply stuff. And I said that, for me, like, when I'm taking notes, like, if I'm hearing something and I'm writing it at the same time, like, not only hearing it, but I'm also writing it and in my own words, you know, a combination of their words and my words, and it's, like, better processing. It's kind of how I talk and think. If I'm saying it as I'm thinking it, it kind of just formulates. Yeah. What do you think about that?
About which part?
I don't know.
I've said a lot of words in the last 5 minutes.
I've said a lot of words and my throat's getting hurt, so you have to say stuff. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, boy. What to even say? Well, kind of in a similar vein with my field, I'm also trying to become more of a well-rounded historian going into my field. A lot of applied history programs in the, like it is going to be very likely that by the time I graduate, even though I've done a year and a half-ish, like, times worth of conservation, like, which is, like, you know, the hand stitching and, like, fixing of textiles that I do, it is very likely that I will not get a conservation job. Very, very likely. Because, if not even 100% likely. Because in order to get into those types of places, you need to have your master's degree specifically in conservation. And that's just something that's not feasible for me because I'm not going to be able to get into a program based on my own experience with just conservation, like a conservation experience I have. So even though I've put in X amount of work, it's not going to result in me only doing conservation, very likely. So I am kind of thankful because a lot of applied history programs around, like, I know, oh heck, there's a couple good ones in Maryland. I think George Washington in DC has a really, really good applied history program. But a lot of places, whenever you go into applied history, applied history is your whole, like, major, like, what you bachelor's in. And whereas mine was public history or just regular history. Whereas, well, I guess mine was history, and then I concentrated in public history for my bachelor's. But most people, whenever they go into my field, they go into applied history as the general major. And then the concentration becomes, like, what they do for their master's. Like, the whole master's program is surrounded around their concentration, which is just not how it works at my school. But the way I did it, my program is, like, applied history, then my concentration is in museum studies, so it's just all museum studies. But a lot of times you will bachelor's in applied history, master's in museum studies, so it's like your whole degree is in that, and that's what people tend to look for rather than just a concentration. So it is very likely that I won't get a very super specific job. So my goal kind of is just to become as well-rounded of a historian as I could, that if I go into a smaller, like, place or anything like that, or like a museum with not a lot of, like, staff available or whatever, just most museums are, quite frankly, that I could, whenever they don't have, like, anyone to, like, do the conservation, like, they can't afford to pay a conservator, I could be like, oh, I know how to do that. You know what I mean?
So you'd rather be, like, a big fish
I
in a
would
small
rather
pond.
be a jack of all trades, and be able to, which is kind of what I've been doing as, like, where I work at now. Like, you know, there's not very many people that work there, so it's kind of like, if you're not going to do it, no one's going to do it. So you kind of have to learn everything, and I've enjoyed learning everything. Like, there's not one thing, I mean, conservation a little bit more, but there's not really one thing totally that, like, I enjoy, like, way more, like, astronomically more than, you know, anything else within the museum studies field. Like, every once in a while, I don't want to look at my sewing anymore. I'm sick of it. So I want to go be able to, like, be like, I'm going to go do some, like, processing of artifacts that have just come in or donations that have come in, or, like, collections management, who, like, oversees conservation. Like, that's something that the Heinz History Center has. Like, they just have a collections manager who just oversees conservation, but she doesn't do any of it. She just oversees it, but can do it if she needs to, but I don't think she has the skills for it. But like just like the skills, like the knows how to do it.
Yeah.
So with being that, like literally every single person I've talked to so far, like out like in my internship and just at various other places I've been, they're like, oh, museums are gonna like you because like you can do anything, and that's kind of what I want to be. Like if they're like, well, we're looking for a collections management person. I'm like, oh, I know how to do that. Yeah. Like, you know, like basically I want to be able to walk into any museum job and be able to be like, yeah, I have some kind of experience in that. And that's been really nice, been able to get with my program because it's so generalized and it's not like super specific. Like if I were to like major in conservation, then I could literally only do conservation. If there's just not conservation jobs out there, then I'm SOL. So being able to be like, oh, well, we're actually hiring for this, I'll be like, oh, well, I do have experience in that too. They're like, oh, cool. But if something else comes up in the job, then I can do that as well. So I kind of want to be a universal tool that any museum could use and be a valuable asset to.
Yeah.
So that's the goal, and I think that's what I'm kind of, like, in the direction I'm heading, at least. Literally, like, I talked to a couple people, and they're like, oh, keep us on your radar whenever you start looking for jobs. I'm like, say less. But, yeah. So that's kind of, like, I want to work through everything.
Yeah.
So that I know how to do everything, so that no matter what and again, maybe that's the control freak in me, but no matter what situation arises in my field, I know generally how to tackle it.
So,
yes.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. I like if any like random like, oh god, we just got this donation, what do we do with it? I can be like, guys, it's okay. I know how to process a collection. I know like you gotta freeze it back. Like I know how to like bring in a collection and stuff like that. So literally I want to be like the person that can be like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Maybe Peyton does. Like, you know, that's what I want.
And
so
you're thinking like a smaller museum?
Probably a smaller place is gonna be where I end up because I'm not a city slicking gal. I learned that this summer. I hate it. So I'm gonna probably look more like bigger than my hometown, but not so big as like a city. So that's kind of where I'm. So if you know any places, all 5 of you, let me know. But
well, for me, it's like I'm kind of like the opposite in regards to like big fish, small fish. You know, like I too am also like looking to be like sort of jack of all trades. You know, I want to generalize knowledge of everything. You know, I'm a very like curious person. You know me. I like to think. You know, I like to know things. But the way I see is that like in whatever pond I end up in, I always seem to be a big fish. I just don't blend in very well, you know? I have a very like I go hard on like whenever I like am passionate about something, and I'm very passionate about my career, I go hard. And like it doesn't matter if I'm in a small pond or a big pond, I always seem to be a very large fish, you know? And so that's why I've always been like, I want to be in a big pond because I always seem to be a big fish, you know? Yeah. Like, that's just, it sounds like bragging, and it is bragging, you know? I take pride in, you know, who I am, you know? And the fact that who I am is somebody who does not blend in very well, and, like, the fact that, like, I learn fast and take on a lot of responsibilities, and, you know, I don't know how it always happens to me, but, like, I end up in these situations where, like, somehow I'm, like, Peyton knows. I keep finding myself in these situations. And so it's like, I want to see how big of a pond I can get into, how big of a fish I can get. I'm hungry, you know? And I know it sounds so, like, vain and whatever, but I'm very ambitious. I have big dreams, you know? I want to follow your dreams, make them a reality, you know? Like, every step of the way, every step that I take is a little dopamine hit, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think it's about, like, I want to be praised and great. No, it's just, like, when I do something good and impressive, I'm proud of myself, and it makes me happy, you know? And I want to see, you know, how far the limit is. I want to keep shooting off, you know? See how far I can get. Like, some may say in a small town such as this that is, like, you know, what a bitch, you know? But I'm like, in somewhere like LA, that sort of mindset, it's a good mindset to have, you know? It's
how you survive there.
Yeah. but then, like I said, there's a difference between because there's a lot of people out there that are just like, it's purely ego driven, you know? They just want, and like control and like power. Like that's what they want. A lot of men like that. Like, I for some reason, I never see any women like that. All of the women, like most of the women I meet in the film industry are like, they work in like a sort of like assistant position, you know? Like they don't really work on the ground or like work with stuff, you know? But like I've met so many guys, and it's only guys I've really seen like this, that are like, they just want to be the biggest alpha male there, you know? That is what they want. It is very much driven in that, but for me it's just like, you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's one of the things that differentiates me from the other very ambitious people such as myself, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Allison's phone's about to die.
Yeah.
So this is where we're going to have to sign off for the evening, but this has been a good fun, just chill little sit and chit chat. Allison's only in town for like another week, so
like a couple days.
Yeah. Week-ish. Yeah. Like,
so sad.
Yes.
So sad.
So
I wish I could give y'all. You should give them a tour of the archive sometime and send me the footage.
I mean, Sean is making some of that content for our. We have a YouTube channel now. So
I want to share them.
Okay.
I want to make a video.
You can share the link.
Film stuff there, send to me. I make video beautiful.
I can certainly try, but it might be weird.
I just think it's so cool. Peyton
does
such cool stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that might be a little...
Never mind. Peyton works at a cool place, but we can't show you guys.
At least not, like, presenting it from our end. Like, it would have to come from, like, our the archives YouTube channel.
Imagine you pretend like you've never been there before. Like, hey guys, I'm just a vlogger
Whoa,
here.
I'm just vlogging here. So weird.
Wow.
I don't know who that woman is. I definitely haven't cried to her before.
Yeah,
so
like,
weird.
Oh, look at all these beautiful textiles. That one is from 1782.
Don't ask me how I know that. I just know. Which, I mean, I do. I
have approximate knowledge of many things.
Yes. But, yeah. That's something that I'm having fun with, I must say, is being able, like, I've been able to, like, look at bodices and, like, dresses and be like, 1880s or, like, 1870. So, that's been a real good time. But, yeah, once some of that, this is actually something you could look forward to. I'm doing a semester-long conservation project that Sean wants to be our first vlog-style video for the archive. So I'm going to have to vlog conserving. So that'll be up on their channel, which we can link once it's up. And we can be like, look at this!
Yeah, just text me the link.
Yes.
Alright, well, I love y'all. I don't want to say goodbye.
This will be the last time you see us together for a minute.
For like a few months.
Yeah.
Probably till like December.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I'll come home for Thanksgiving, but we probably won't have time to see each other.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you could always send me a video of you just living your life, and I could edit together, and I could do something with my life. I don't know.
That is true.
It's possible. You never know.
You never know. You never can tell.
All right, well. Won't you take me to Funky Town? We were listening to VeggieTales sing the 70s. It's great. On that note, I love you all, okay? Bye!